Hey everybody, Dylan here. And just a few weeks ago, I completed my thru-hike of the Loeb Trail in North Carolina. So I've been backpacking on the Loeb pretty much my entire life, doing day hikes and small sections, but I was finally able to make it out and do a complete thru-hike. With the thru-hike fresh on my mind, I wanted to make this video giving you a complete guide, going over everything you need to know for your own Loeb Trail thru-hike. So in this video, we're gonna go over everything from navigation, to trail info, to water sources, to camping, and everything in between. And by the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to know to plan your own Loeb Trail thru-hike. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So the Loeb Trail is a 30-mile trail that goes through Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina. The elevation gain on the trail is somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 feet, depending on what source you look at and what direction you go in, northbound or southbound. The Loeb goes through a lot of different terrain, so you're gonna see everything from grassy balds to dense forest to rocky ridge lines and everything in between. So most hikers are gonna do the Loeb Trail in 2 to 3 days. I personally did it in 2.5. So I had 2 full days, and then I finished on the morning of the 3rd day. I did meet some people on trail that were gonna do it in 4 to move at a slower pace, and then I met some beasts on trail that were running the trail in 1 day. So you can do the Loeb from 1 to 4 or even 5 days, but I think the sweet spot is gonna be a 2 or 3 day backpacking trip. So you can hike the Loeb Trail any time of year. I do think the best time to hike the trail is gonna be in the spring or the fall. So in the spring, you're gonna have the flowers blooming and great weather. And in the fall, you're also gonna have great weather, but you're gonna be dealing with the leaves changing. You can hike the trail in summer, but it's gonna be really hot and crowded. And then in the wintertime, the trail is not as crowded, but it does get really cold and icy, especially on the balds. So I would recommend the spring or fall. My most recent hike of the trail was during peak leaf season in the fall, and it was absolutely gorgeous up there, so I highly recommend checking it out that time of year. So as far as the difficulty on the trail, I would rate it as hard. So it's consistently called one of the hardest trails in North Carolina. You've got rough terrain, you've got several really steep climbs, and it is 30 miles, which is not a short distance. So if you have some backpacking experience or you want a challenge, it's definitely doable, and I do recommend it, but all I'm saying is don't underestimate it. It's a tough trail. So now that you know the basics of the Loeb Trail, the first step in planning a thru-hike is figuring out what direction you want to go in. Do you want to go northbound or do you want to go southbound? Northbound is going to start at Davidson River Campground and go to Camp Boone, and southbound is going to go in the opposite direction. Both northbound and southbound have pros and cons. So northbound, the views are going to grow as you go down the trail. So you're going to have a lot more green tunnel and forest in the beginning, but towards the end of your trip, you're gonna have the grassy balds on black balsam and tennet. So if you're looking for better views at the end of your hike, I'd go northbound. Northbound also seems to be logistically easier because it starts right outside of the town of Brevard, North Carolina. But the downside of going northbound, in my opinion at least, is that it is much harder. So just in my experience hiking the trail, I think northbound has more steep climbs and it's just harder in general. Southbound, on the other hand, is the easier direction of the two. It ends conveniently in Brevard, so when you get done with the trail, you're gonna end at the Davidson River Campground and you're gonna be 5 minutes from the town. And southbound has some tough climbs right out the gate from the trailhead, but you do get the nice views of black balsam and tennet pretty early in the hike, so that's a pro for going southbound. Personally, I decided to go southbound for my thru-hike a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. I got to camp on top of black balsam and tennet the first night, and I thought it was much easier than my northbound attempt a few months ago. So I went southbound, but honestly, you can't go wrong either way. So figure out what direction you want to go in. I'm gonna leave the addresses for both the northern and southern terminus in the description. So once you figure out what direction you're gonna go in, northbound or southbound, the next step is lining up a shuttle to get you to the trailhead. The most popular option for shuttles is gonna be to park your car where you're gonna end the trail and then get a shuttle driver to drive you and drop you off at your starting point. The good news is parking is free at both Camp Boone and the Davidson River Campground, so you can leave your car parked there, while you're hiking, no problem at all. As far as shuttle drivers, there are 2 popular options that I recommend. So the first one is going to be Traveling Light Shuttle and Resupply. So Nathan, the owner, is a Triple Crown hiker. He's a great guy, and he's given me several rides on the Loeb Trail, so I highly recommend Traveling Light. I'm gonna leave his phone number and Facebook page in the description below. And then another popular option is Pura Vida Adventures. So I've never used them, but I do know they're a popular option and I've heard nothing but good things about them. So I'm also gonna leave their contact info in the description as well. And then if for some reason Traveling Light or Pura Vida can't pick you up, I would go in the Art Loeb Trail Facebook group. There are a lot of trail angels and people in the community that are willing to give you a ride. So the Facebook group is a great backup option if Traveling Light or Pura Vida are unavailable. So let's talk about camping. So camping on the Art Loeb Trail is dispersed, meaning you can pretty much camp anywhere. There are tons of campsites available on the Art Loeb on a first come, first served basis. Two of my favorite places to camp on trail are gonna be Tennant Mountain and Black Balsam Knob. So if you're going southbound, Tennant Mountain is gonna be around mile 9, and then Black Balsam Knob is gonna be around mile 10. Tennant Mountain and Black Balsam Knob both have incredible sunrises and sunsets, so if you do get the chance to camp there, I do highly recommend it. I will caveat that by saying Black Balsam Knob is pretty close to the Blue Ridge Parkway, so it can get a little crowded, but to me, the views up there are just so worth it. So aside from dispersed camping, we do have two awesome shelters on the Art Loeb Trail. So if you're going southbound at mile marker 14.5 roughly, you're gonna find Deep Gap Shelter. And then at mile 20.5, you're gonna have Butter Gap Shelter. Both shelters are in fantastic shape. They were renovated in 2023, I believe. If you get to the shelters and they are full, there's plenty of room around both shelters to set up a tent or a hammock or whatever you got. And then finally for camping, I'm gonna give an example itinerary if you just need a starting point for planning your through hike. So if you're going southbound, most people would hike probably around 10 miles day one and camp on either Tennant Mountain or Black Balsam Knob. And then day two, you can hike 10 more miles and end up roughly around Butter Gap Shelter. And then the third day, that'll give you 10 more miles to your car, ending at the Davidson River Campground. But that is just one example. I would say hike your own hike and camp where you wanna camp. That's just a good starting point and seems to be a popular itinerary for a lot of people. So let's talk about water. So water is typically very plentiful on the Art Loeb Trail, but some sources can dry up maybe in the summer or the fall, and that can lead to some long stretches. So I've mapped out 9 water sources that I think are very reliable on the Art Loeb Trail. I'm not gonna name them all in this video, but I am gonna throw up a chart I made on the screen right now. So that will be very helpful. Take a screenshot of it and use it while you're planning your hike. I do want to throw a caveat in there and say you might find way more water than I'm telling you, or some of these sources that I'm telling you about might be dry when you get there. I can't say 100%, but just in my experience doing several day hikes and through hiking a few weeks ago, I think these sources are pretty dang reliable. And then as far as my water strategy on trail, I never carried more than 2 liters. I didn't find a need to. There was plenty of water on trail. But when I did pass a water source, I would camel up. So I would drink a liter, I would chug it, and then I would just take a liter or maybe 2 with me depending on where I was camping or where the next water source was. So my advice would be to use the chart that I provided. That's gonna give you a rough idea where the next water source is gonna be. And when you do get to a water source, I would recommend chugging a liter and then taking a little bit with you. But overall, the Art Loeb Trail is plentiful with water, and if you use the guide I gave you, you're gonna be just fine. So now let's go over navigation. So the Art Loeb Trail overall is very well marked, but there are a few junctions and crossings where the trail can get a little confusing. So if you're the type of person that prefers a paper map, those are available for pickup at the Pisgah Ranger Station in Pisgah National Forest. But in my experience, most hikers on the Art Loeb Trail are using either All Trails or Gaia GPS for navigation. So All Trails is gonna be simple, user-friendly. I do recommend getting the Pro version. That way you can download the maps and use them offline. I'm gonna leave the link to the All Trails maps in the description. And then personally, I use Gaia on the Art Loeb Trail. It's a little more technical, but it's just what I prefer. I did personally map out both northbound and southbound routes for the Art Loeb on Gaia. So if you want to download that GPX file for your navigation app, those are going to be available for download in the description. And the final section I want to go over is permits, rules, and safety. So there are no permits required to actually hike the Art Loeb Trail. Food storage is very important on the Art Loeb Trail. So bear cans are required in the Shining Rock Wilderness. So that's gonna be everywhere north of the Blue Ridge Parkway, all the way to Camp Daniel Boone. Once you're out of Shining Rock Wilderness, so everywhere south of the Blue Ridge Parkway, you can hang a bear bag, but bears and other critters are active on this trail. So either use a bear can or practice a good bear hang. Along with that, fires are also banned in the Shining Rock Wilderness, so you cannot make a campfire anywhere north of the Blue Ridge Parkway. So from Camp Daniel Boone all the way to the Blue Ridge Parkway, campfires are not allowed. And hopefully you don't have to bail from the Art Loeb Trail. I hope you can finish it. But if you do have to get off for an emergency, there are 3 good bail points, and I'm gonna put them all on the screen right now. So take a screenshot of that if you do need to get off trail in an emergency. And just some quick tips before we go. I highly recommend joining the Art Loeb Trail Facebook group. So I'm gonna leave a link in the description to join, but there's just so many people in there willing to help or provide information, so definitely check that out. I said it earlier in the video, but I wanna say it again. If you can camp on top of Tennant Mountain or Black Balsam Knob, I highly recommend it. It is one of the most gorgeous sunrises and sunsets I've ever seen. So if you have a chance, definitely do that. And I mentioned this previously, but I did compile all the info from this video into a complete thru-hiking guide PDF. That file is available for download in the description. So use that while you're planning, or you can download it for your phone while you're on the trail, but it's completely free. Use it to your advantage. And that's all I've got today, everybody. The Art Loeb is such a special trail for me. It was my first thru-hike and one of the places that I fell in love with backpacking. If this video helped you out, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out so much. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.